Let's move to the next part, as you alluded to with the PGA commissioner and the way that these guys have twisted themselves into knots, Jay Monahan, around 9/11, is they used these people, as you said. They literally used the 9/11 families as props. They held them up in their criticism of Live Golf. They said no PGA players ever had to apologize. They alluded to the immorality of Live Golf beforehand, and before they announced their surprise potential merger between the PGA and Live, also going for profit, again showing that it is all about the money. And what I want people to understand is we're not exaggerating when we say that they use them. They said it multiple times on camera when they were at war with Live Golf. Here's what Monahan had to say.
Well, I talked to players. I've talked at a player meeting, and I've talked to a number of players individually for a long period of time. And I think you'd have to be living under a rock to not know that there are significant implications. And as it relates to the families of 9/11, I have two families that are close to me that lost loved ones. And so my heart goes out to them. And I would ask, any player that has left or any player that would ever consider leaving, have you ever had to apologize for being a member of the PGA Tour?
Okay, so that's what he had to say then. That was his original criticism of golf, which, by the way, okay, he'd say got people close to him who lost people on 9/11. So immediately after the merger, he goes on the Golf Channel where they ask him, like, hey, what about these 9/11 families who are pissed off? Look at him now. Look how much he's changed his tune.
Jay, the 9/11 Families United made a strong statement yesterday. They said you co-opted the 9/11 community in taking a moral stance against Live. How would you respond to that group?
Well, I read Terry's comments. I obviously acknowledge her loss and completely understand her position. And to the question that you were just asking, I think about the fact that I allowed confidentiality to prevail here. And in allowing confidentiality to prevail, I did not communicate to very important constituents, including the families of 9/11. And I regret that. I really do. But as we sit here today, I think it's important to reiterate that I feel like the move that we've made and how we move forward is in the best interest of our sport. We've eliminated those fractures. But for any difficulties I've caused on that front, again, I have to own that as well. And that comes back to communication.
Just tell the truth. Don't just say, listen, it was about the money. They paid me a ton of money. We're all going to get filthy, fantastically rich. There was no way to outspend them. And I apologize. Or maybe don't even say that and be like, I have nothing to apologize for. I did what was in the best interest of myself and of the players monetarily. But because that is such a disgusting and immoral thing, he can't find a way to actually tell the truth. He just obfuscates and goes around like, well, understanding and I have empathy, but it's like, what are we doing here? This is just all so gross.
Right. And what it shows you is, these guys who are high-level sports executives and running major sports leagues, part of how they get in that position is by being very effective spin masters. So when even someone like him cannot do anything other than stumble and bumble around and fumble over his words and offer ultimately zero justification, it tells you what a grotesque, hypocritical place they've gotten themselves into. Because part of the issue for him, Saagar, is he can't now go and say, well, we just, couldn't beat him, so we'll join him, and there's a lot of money at stake, so that's what we're doing. Because he tried to take the moral high ground so aggressively when this was all unfolding and when it was to his benefit. So for him, it's an impossible position. There really is no going back. And, I have no insight into like the internal politics of how this all works, but I wonder if he's going to be able to hold on to this position because and we're going to get to this in a minute, but if you're one of the players that didn't take the bag, that got offered hundreds of millions of dollars, and you actually believed in the principles and you thought that Monahan was sincere in his sort of like virtuous stand against just taking this money from this, authoritarian, human rights abusing regime, and you said no to that, and now the guys who did sell out, who did take the bag, like they're laughing all the way to the bank and, ultimately like winning this whole exchange. I don't know how you get over that. I really
I'm
don't.
100% with you. One thing that's given me some hope is I would call it bro media, the sports guys. They are livid with him, with Moynihan. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. Dave Portnoy put this out. A quote. Again, I don't know how Jay Moynihan sleeps at night. He co-opted 9/11 victims for the moral high ground. He clearly didn't give a shit about them. He's just using their pain as a marketing tactic. Special type of hell for guys like that. Clay Travis over at Outkick also came out, just savaging the PGA commissioner. And I think that is what, really grinds a lot of people, is that you use these people literally as pawns, as
Mhm.
props
Yep.
for your business dealings. And for somebody like that, yeah, you should burn. You should absolutely burn in hell. And, for example, as you alluded to, let's put this up there. Tiger Woods turned down between 700 to 800 million dollars to play for Live Golf. Now, we don't exactly know why exactly he decided to do so, but it's very possible that one of the reasons that he did so was not only out of loyalty or whatever to the PGA where he started his career, but Tiger is an American icon and has one of the most famous. He's probably one of the most famous athletes in American history. And you can't say that the Saudi connection didn't have at least some sway, maybe in his decision not to do so, from an overall branding perspective. And by the way, look, it's not like the guy, it's not like the guy wasn't, he's on his second act. Like, he's lost a lot of his blue chip sponsors and all that. Obviously, he's got a turmoil in his personal life. So he would be within his, rights to secure another bag for his family and just say, look, this is it. I'm going to die a multi-billionaire. This is my last chance. This is guaranteed cash. And he decided not to do it. And, he turned that down. At least somewhat of the decision, hopefully, was about principles. So how can they look them in the eyes? How can they look any of the PGA tour players that turned down massive offers in the eyes? Because now they missed out on a generational payout and they might end up working for the same boss. That is what it's
That's the
just
thing.
not right.
You're forcing all of these guys to get in bed with this dirty
Mhm.
money. And at least if they were going to sell out, they could have sold out for the much higher price that they
Yes,
were being
yes.
offered up front. So, yeah, I mean, Tiger obviously already very wealthy man, but even for someone who's already very wealthy, 700 to 800 million
Right.
dollars is a whole lot of freaking money that he turned down, to stay loyal to the PGA Tour. There's one more piece of this that we wanted to make sure to note, and our friend and partner Matt Stoller has certainly been highlighting, which is that there are questions about how this deal is structured and whether it is going to survive antitrust scrutiny. Put this last part up on the screen. This was a report from Bloomberg. They say that this marriage risks scrutiny from antitrust authorities, both here and also in Europe, because there's a European PGA Tour that is involved in this transaction as well. One of the things, Saga, that's interesting is they've gone out of their way not to actually call it a merger. They also note in this report they didn't even consult with an antitrust lawyer, which seems kind of foolish, if
Hmm.
we're being honest. And you also have a lot of Democratic senators and other representatives who are already saying they've got a problem with this and they've got a problem with it from an antitrust perspective. We know that the Biden administration, and with Lena Khan involved and other, trust busting type regulators, have been much more skeptical of major mergers and have, pursued legal action in a much more aggressive way than past administrations in recent memory. So there is still an open question of whether this thing, at least in its current form, even ultimately goes through.
Right. Yeah, we wanted to make sure we flag that. There's no guarantee that this actually goes through at all. But regardless, the 9/11 families were betrayed, and so were many of the players. I hope that they revolt at least in some way. I don't know what recourse that they have, but they've got to have something somewhere. And yeah, I hope
I know there was
they
some
get their
talk of
due.
maybe they're going to form the players will form a union
Good. Yeah.
now, and they'll have more power in any of these future negotiations.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.